My wife invited me to a fancy family dinner, but told me not to mention my job because it embarrasses her in front of her rich relatives. I stayed silent as they mocked me over wine. When her uncle sneered, "Does he even make six figures?" I politely excused myself. Hours later, she was banging on my hotel door. I'm 42 male. My wife Nadia is 38. We've been married for 7 years. We live in Tacoma, Washington, and I own a small auto repair shop I inherited from my dad. I've worked in it since I was a teenager. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work and I take pride in it. We're not swimming in money, but we live comfortably. No kids, by choice. Just us and our dog, Rusty. Nadia works in marketing for a luxury real estate firm in Seattle. She's incredibly smart, polished, and ambitious. That's one of the things I first loved about her. But if I'm being honest, her world is very different from mine. She comes from a wealthy family, like old money. Wine cellars and ski trips to Whistler, private schools, debutante balls kind of money. I'm just a guy who knows how to rebuild a transmission with his eyes closed. Over the years, I've gone to a handful of events with her family, weddings, birthdays, charity galas. I've always felt like a fish out of water. I try to make conversation, I dress up, I'm polite. But the truth is, I don't speak their language. When they start talking about venture capital portfolios, private equity, exit strategies, I'm out of my depth. And I get it. Some of them are successful tech investors, retired CEOs, real estate magnates. I can't compete, but I didn't think I had to compete. I thought being a good man, a hard worker, a loyal husband, that would be enough. Apparently not. Last weekend, Nadia asked me to come to her cousin Genevieve's birthday dinner in Seattle. It was being held at this rooftop place called Canlis, real high-end, reservation only, the kind of place where the waiter describes your meal like it's a piece of art. On the drive over, we were quiet. I was tired. I'd had a hell of a week at the shop. 2 of my guys were out sick. I had back-to-back jobs, and I'd worked close to 65 hours. About halfway there, she turned down the music and said, in this offhand tone, "Hey, babe, can I ask you something kinda dumb?" "Sure," I said. "Could you not talk about your job too much tonight?" "What?" "Just like, if someone asks, keep it vague. You know how my family is. They don't get it, and I just don't want to deal with them making weird comments." I stared at her. "You're serious?" "It's not personal. They're just snobs, okay? I'm just trying to keep the night easy. You think my job's something to be ashamed of?" "No, God, no. I just know how they are, and I don't want to spend the night defending our life choices, okay?" I nodded, slowly. My hands tightened on the wheel. That should have been the moment I told her to turn the car around. But I didn't. I swallowed the sting and said, "Okay." We parked, walked in, and were immediately met by a flood of fake air kisses and champagne flutes. Her cousin Genevieve, who has this breathy, condescending voice, greeted us like we were long-lost royalty. Nadia's parents were there, plus her uncle Armand, her aunt Sabine, a few cousins I barely knew, and Leon, her younger brother who made a fortune in tech and now splits his time between Bali and Austin. I sat next to Nadia. We were at a long table. Cloth napkins. A small forest of forks. Wine pairings. Everything gleamed. The conversation started rolling immediately. Genevieve's new villa in Napa, Leon's new AI project, Sabine's third gallery opening in the Hamptons. I listened, smiled, said very little. Then, Armand turned to me. "So, Jacques, what's new in the world of, what was it again? Carburetors?" He smiled like he'd made a joke. I said, "It's mostly hybrids and EVs now. We've been adapting." "Well, I suppose someone still needs to get under the hood." He turned back to his wine glass, amused with himself. I caught Nadia giving me a look, like, just let it go. Then Leon jumped in. "You guys ever think of franchising? Scaling up? You know, getting investors, expanding operations?" "It's not really that kind of business," I replied. "Everything's scalable," he said. "Look at Jiffy Lube." "Yeah, I'm not really trying to become Jiffy Lube." He laughed like that was funny. It wasn't. I could feel the heat rising in my neck. Later, during dessert, it got worse. We were talking about the market, because apparently that's the only topic they care about, when Silvio, another uncle, turned to me and said, "Be honest, Jacques. Do you even make 6 figures turning wrenches?" It wasn't a question. It was a test. I looked at him, then at Nadia. She was frozen, not speaking. Armand chuckled. "Maybe he's sitting on a trust fund we don't know about." That was it. I stood up, tucked in my chair, and said, "Excuse me." Nadia hissed. "Jacques, what are you doing? Getting some air. Don't make a scene." I didn't reply. I walked out, down the elevator, out into the cool Seattle night. I walked 6 blocks in silence. Didn't even check my phone. Finally hailed a cab and checked into a Marriott. Didn't say a word to anyone. She showed up at the hotel at 11:30 p.m. Barefoot, mascara smeared, breathing heavy from sprinting across the lobby. She banged on the door. I opened it. "What the F asterisk asterisk K Jacques? What do you want?" "You left, without saying anything. And you didn't defend me." "I didn't think I had to. You told me not to talk about my work because it embarrasses you." "No, I didn't say that. You said you didn't want to deal with their comments. That's the same thing. She stepped into the room. You humiliated me. No, they did. And you let them. She was crying now. I didn't know they'd say that stuff. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean for it to go like that. I sat on the bed, staring at the floor. Nadia, do you think I'm beneath you? Silence. Answer me. I don't know, she whispered. That broke something in me. I nodded, stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the dark skyline. For a minute, neither of us spoke. She finally said, Can we go home? Not tonight. You're blowing this out of proportion. No, I'm finally seeing things clearly. I haven't gone back. I've been staying at the Marriott. I told her I need space. She's been texting me constantly. Long paragraphs, voice notes, apologies, excuses, promises to do better. I haven't replied yet. Rusty's at my friend Mike's place. He offered to watch him until I figure things out. And me? I've been thinking. A lot. Thinking about all the times I swallowed my pride. All the little jabs I let slide. All the family events I endured in silence. Thinking about how she never once stood up for me. And the worst part? I don't even think she meant to hurt me. I think she just doesn't see me at all. It's been 5 days. I haven't been back to the house. The Marriott's not bad. Quiet. Clean. The kind of beige, corporate comfort that doesn't ask questions. I've gotten to know the guy at the front desk, Amir. He brings me black coffee in the morning without asking now. Says I look like I've had a week. He's not wrong. Nadia's messages are a mix of desperate and defensive. 1 minute, she's apologizing. The next, she's telling me I'm overreacting. Yesterday, she sent a photo of Rusty lying on the bed with his head down. The caption said, He misses you. I stared at it for 10 minutes. Then I put my phone down and went to the gym in the hotel basement. Ran 3 miles and still felt like I hadn't moved an inch. This morning, I finally texted her back. Just 4 words. We need to talk. She replied instantly. When? Today. I agreed to meet her at the house. Not because I was ready, but because I couldn't sit in that hotel room any longer with the weight of everything unsaid pressing on my chest. I got there around noon. Her car was in the driveway. The porch light was on, even though it was bright out. Little things like that. Details that used to go unnoticed now felt like cracks in the veneer. Rusty barked when I opened the door. Jumped on me like I'd been gone a year. Nadia stood in the kitchen, holding a mug. Her eyes were puffy. No makeup. Hair tied up. She looked smaller somehow. Hey, she said. Hey. I dropped my overnight bag on the floor and leaned against the counter. She didn't move. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I didn't respond. I know I hurt you. And I hate that I did. That dinner, it was awful. I should have said something. I froze. That's not the part that hurt the most. She blinked. Then what? You asked me not to talk about my job. Like it was a problem. Like I was the problem. You didn't just freeze. You planned the silence before we even got there. She set the mug down and leaned on the counter opposite me. I didn't think it would matter so much. I didn't realize how it would sound. It's not just about how it sounded. It's about what it meant. She nodded slowly, looking down. They've always been like that, she said. My family. I grew up watching them belittle people. I learned to keep my head down around them. I thought I could protect you by asking you to do the same. You weren't protecting me. You were protecting yourself from being embarrassed. That landed. She opened her mouth, closed it, swallowed hard. Maybe you're right, she said finally. We stood in silence for a while. The kitchen clock ticked. Rusty padded between us, confused by the tension. Can I ask you something? I said. Yeah. Do you think less of me because of what I do? I need you to be honest. She didn't answer right away. Just stared at the floor like the answer was written there. No, she said at last. I don't think less of you. But I wanted you to be more. To them. And maybe that means I didn't think you were enough. There it was. The quiet dagger between the ribs. I nodded. Walked over to the sink. Ran some water just to have something to do with my hands. You know, I said, when my dad passed, I almost sold the shop. I thought about it. Long and hard. But then I remembered how proud he was of it. Of me. Of the fact that I wanted to keep it running. I know. He used to say, we may not have suits and degrees, but we keep the world turning. I believed him. I believe him too. Do you? She walked over to me. Put her hand on my arm. Yes, I do. But I forgot that for a while. I let their voices drown out yours. Drown out mine. I looked at her. Really looked at her. I don't know if I can come back from this, I said, voice barely above a whisper. I understand, she said. This isn't just about a dinner. It's about how you see me. How you see us. I know. We didn't cry. There weren't any shouting matches. No melodrama. Just the slow, painful acknowledgement that something might be broken beyond repair. Rusty sat at our feet, looking up at us with those soft, worried eyes. Do you want to stay the night? She asked. No, I said. Not yet. She nodded. I picked up my bag. Gave Rusty a long scratch behind the ears. I'll come back for him soon. I just need a little more time. Take what you need. Now I'm back at the hotel. Same bed. Same lamp. Same dull ceiling. But something feels different now. Not resolved. Just opened. And I don't know what happens next. It's been 10 days now. I still haven't gone home. I've driven by the house a couple of times. Once at night, lights were on in the kitchen and the TV was flickering in the living room window. I imagined her curled up on the couch, maybe with a blanket, maybe with Rusty beside her. I kept driving. I'm still staying at the Marriott. I've gotten used to the hum of the mini fridge, the cheap detergent smell in the sheets. Amir at the front desk doesn't ask questions anymore, just nods when I walk in. I think he knows. I've been going into the shop early, leaving late, throwing myself into work like it's a life raft. There's something oddly soothing about grease-stained engines and socket wrenches. Machines don't pretend. They don't belittle you while sipping expensive wine. They don't pause when you ask if you're enough. Yesterday, Mike, my longest tenured mechanic and the closest thing I've got to a best friend, cornered me in the back office. "So, what's going on, man?" he asked, arms crossed, leaning against the file cabinet. "Nothing," I muttered, scribbling notes on a clipboard. "Bullshit. You've been walking around like a damn ghost. You sleeping here now, or what?" I sighed and set the pen down. "Nadia and I, we're taking space." "You mean she kicked you out?" "No. I left." He blinked. "Seriously?" "Yeah." He whistled low and nodded. "Damn. You two always seemed solid." "So did this place," I said, gesturing around us, "until the pipes burst last year." Mike didn't press, just clapped a hand on my shoulder. "You need anything, man, beer, couch, someone to curse with, I got you." "Thanks." And that was that. Later that night, I sat alone in my hotel room, Rusty curled up at my feet. I'd picked him up from the house earlier that afternoon. Nadia wasn't there. Left a note and a bag of his food by the door. Just said, "Take all the time you need." He keeps looking at the door, like he's waiting for her to come in. I think I am too. In some part of me, I don't want to admit, is still hoping. I miss her. God help me, I do. I miss her humming in the kitchen while she pours coffee. I miss the way she'd press her freezing cold feet against mine in bed and laugh when I flinched. I miss her hands in my hair, her voice when she was tired and soft-spoken and real, not the version of her she puts on for her family. But I don't miss the way she made me feel that night. I don't miss the look she gave me when I stood up at the table, as if I was the one making a scene, not them. I don't miss the silence while her uncle belittled me, or the way she just let it hang in the air like it was somehow my fault. I've been running the moment over in my head every night. His voice, smug and cutting. "Be honest, Jacques. Do you even make six figures turning wrenches?" And the laughter that followed. My silence. My exit. The way no one stopped me. I think that's what really did it. Not just what was said, but what wasn't. What she didn't do. What she didn't say. This morning, she texted me again. "I'm seeing my therapist today. I've been thinking a lot about everything. If you want, we can go together next week. No pressure. I'll cover it." Just putting it out there. I stared at it for a long time. Therapy was always a sore subject with her. Her mother used to say therapy is for people who can't manage their own lives. So this was new. Maybe even growth. But I wasn't sure if it was enough. I didn't reply. Instead, I went downstairs and ordered a beer at the bar. It was early, but who cares? The bartender, a woman named Jenna, has seen me enough times now to know I'm not here for small talk. She slid the bottle over and gave me a tight smile. "Rough week?" she asked. "More like a rough marriage," I said before I could stop myself. She didn't react. Just gave a nod like she'd heard it all before. "People come in here after fights all the time," she said. "Sometimes they come back together. Sometimes they don't. What makes the difference?" She shrugged. "Depends on if the fight was about the truth or just fear." I thought about that the whole way back to my room. I haven't answered Nadia's text yet. I'm not avoiding her to punish her. I'm avoiding her because I still don't know what I want. I don't know if I'm willing to go back into a world where I have to shrink myself to fit, where my pride is negotiable for the sake of appearances, where love means biting your tongue until it bleeds. I used to think that marriage was about compromise, and maybe it still is, but not about compromising who you are. I can't go back to the version of us that stood by that table, letting them laugh at me like I wasn't even there. It's been 2 weeks now. 2 weeks since I left that rooftop dinner and walked away from the life I thought I had figured out. The life that, now in hindsight, looks like something held together with duct tape and polite silence. I keep thinking about all the signs I missed or chose to ignore. Little things Nadia said at parties, offhand comments about how I clean up well, or how she'd gently correct me when I mentioned the shop to someone she knew. "Just say you run a business," she'd whisper. "It sounds more professional." At the time, I chalked it up to her being detail-oriented. She worked in marketing. She branded things for a living. Maybe she just wanted to rebrand me a little. Now I see it differently. On Tuesday, I finally responded to her message about therapy. "I'll go. One session. I want to hear what you have to say without the filters." She replied immediately. "Thank you. I'll book it." We went yesterday. The therapist, Denise, was a soft-spoken woman in her 50s, with a calm voice and a look in her eyes like she could see straight through the both of us. Her office was warm, comfortable. No frills. Just bookshelves, a tissue box on the coffee table, and two armchairs angled slightly toward each other. We sat down. Nadia looked nervous. I felt like I was in a job interview I didn't apply for. Denise opened gently. So, why are you here? Nadia jumped in. I messed up. I know I did. And I think I need to understand why I keep doing this. Why I keep letting my family control how I act, even when it hurts the people I love. She looked at me then, eyes red, voice trembling a little. I don't want to lose him, but I know I already might have. I stayed quiet. Denise turned to me. Jacques, I don't know where to start, I said. I think I just want to be seen, respected. I don't need to be worshipped. I don't need grand gestures, but I need to feel like I'm enough for her. And for a long time, I haven't. Denise nodded. She asked some questions about our history, how we met, what drew us together, how we communicated before things went south. Nadia talked about our first few years, how she loved my steadiness, how I made her feel grounded. You always made me feel safe, she said. Like I didn't have to prove anything with you. So why do you need to prove something with them? I asked. Because with them, I've never felt enough. Her voice cracked on the last word. She turned her head and wiped a tear. I wanted them to approve of you. I wanted them to say, wow, Nadia found someone real. I thought if I could just manage how you came across, if I could polish you up a little, they'd accept it. They'd accept me. Denise gave her a moment, then said gently, and did they? Nadia laughed bitterly. No, of course not. And Jacques, did he feel accepted by you? The room went still. I looked at Nadia. She looked at the floor. I didn't think about it that way, she whispered. After the session, we walked out together but stood awkwardly in the parking lot. Rusty was in the back seat of her car, wagging his tail when he saw me. You want to come back with us? She asked. Not yet. She nodded. Do you think there's still something left between us? She asked. I didn't answer right away. Just looked at the dog, at the trees in the distance, at the sky above us that felt too big for the moment. I think there might be, I said, but I don't want to go back to what we were. And I don't think you do either. No, I don't. So we'd have to start fresh. Like strangers almost. Not building back, building different. I'd be willing to try. Then I guess we see. Back at the hotel, I sat on the edge of the bed, looking at my phone. The shop's been quiet. Spring is always like this. Too warm for winter maintenance. Too early for summer travel tune-ups. It leaves me too much time to think. I scrolled through photos. Ones I hadn't looked at in months. Us at Ocean Shores last year. A random Saturday in the kitchen, her in my hoodie making pancakes. Me holding Rusty as a puppy, both of us looking like we had no idea what we were doing. I don't know if we're headed for reconciliation or something more final. We're in the in-between. There's tension between us still, but not the kind that makes you raise your voice. The kind that makes you tread carefully, like walking across a frozen lake, unsure of where the cracks are hiding. We have another therapy session next week. I don't know what I'll say yet. Maybe I'll talk about my father more. How proud he was when I took over the shop. How I can still hear his voice sometimes when I'm under the hood, telling me not to over-tighten a bolt or forget the damn torque wrench. Or maybe I'll talk about how small I felt that night at dinner. Smaller than I've ever felt in my life. Maybe I'll finally ask her the question I've been avoiding. What if their respect matters more to her than mine ever did? It's been 6 weeks. The therapy sessions continued. 3, to be exact. Nadia cried more than I expected, and I spoke less than I thought I would. I don't know if that says something about me or about how much I'd already said by walking out that night. After the 3rd session, Denise asked us, separately, what we really wanted. I told her I wanted to feel proud of my life again. Nadia said she wanted her husband back. In the meantime, something unexpected happened. Word got around. About the dinner. About me leaving. I didn't share it. I never posted online, never said a word outside of the therapy room or to Mike at the shop. But Seattle's old money scene is a tight circle. Gossip spreads like wildfire, especially when someone dares to walk away from one of their own. Genevieve's boyfriend, some high-rolling investment type who fancies himself an alpha entrepreneur, apparently told someone at his firm, and that someone happened to know one of our regular customers, whose car we've serviced for years. That customer? She owns a boutique PR firm in downtown Tacoma. She came in with her Range Rover needing new rotors. While I was ringing her up, she looked at me and said, "So, you're the husband who walked out on the dinner?" I stiffened. "Excuse me." She grinned, not in a mocking way, in a kind of impressed, almost amused way. "My cousin was at that table. Word's gotten around. They're all saying you stormed off like a cowboy." I didn't storm. I walked. Even better. I didn't think much of it. But apparently that little whisper of gossip made the rounds. Because 3 days later, I got a call. A local business podcast invited me to speak. You're exactly the kind of story people love. Blue-collar guy, small business owner, real talk. We're doing a series on people who rejected the corporate track and built something their own way. I agreed, mostly because I thought it'd be good for the shop. Never expected it to blow up. The episode aired, and within a week, we had double the usual volume at the garage. Turns out, people like an underdog. People like a man who walks out of a room full of snobs with his dignity intact. A journalist from a Seattle lifestyle magazine reached out next. She wanted to do a profile piece on me. The man who said nothing and said everything. Her words, not mine. Nadia saw the article before I did. She texted me a screenshot. I'm proud of you. I didn't reply, because for the first time in my adult life, I didn't need her to be. Last weekend, I was invited to another family dinner. This time by Leon. He's the tech bro cousin, if you remember, the one who laughed at my job and told me to scale up like Jiffy Lube. Apparently, after seeing the podcast and reading the article, his venture capital buddies had a sudden interest in partnering with local tradespeople to diversify their portfolios. And suddenly, I was someone worth talking to. He called me. Hey, man, listen, I owe you an apology. That dinner, I was out of line. They were too. Yeah, you were, I said flatly. I was thinking, maybe we could grab dinner. Talk business. Business. Yeah, you've built something solid. There's an angle here. Community brand. Longevity. Legacy. I said I'd think about it. Then Nadia texted again. Please come to the next dinner. You don't have to stay long. I just want them to see who you really are. And that's when it hit me. I didn't care if they saw, but I went. Not for revenge, not even for Nadia. I went for me. The dinner was at Armin's this time. Big, echoey house overlooking Puget Sound. Floor-to-ceiling windows, imported marble countertops, and that same cold politeness that always clung to those events like a fog. I wore what I always wear, dark jeans, button-down, boots I'd polished that morning. Clean, but not pretending. When I walked in, I saw Nadia across the room. She looked relieved, maybe a little nervous. I nodded to her. Genevieve blinked like she'd seen a ghost. Leon? He looked sheepish, offered a quick handshake. Armand? The smug uncle who once asked if I even made six figures? He tried to ignore me, but by dessert, he couldn't resist. So, Jacques, I hear you're quite the local celebrity now. I smiled. Just a mechanic. You know, turning wrenches. A few at the table chuckled nervously. Well, he said, sipping wine. Not many mechanics make front-page features these days. Maybe if more of us spoke up when we were disrespected, we would. The silence was thick. I looked at Nadia. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time again. Actually, I continued. Leon here invited me to discuss a possible business expansion. Franchise interest. Investor backing. Everyone turned to Leon. He cleared his throat. Yeah, well, you know, Jacques has built something real. Loyal customer base. Brand trust. Not something you can fake. I could have laughed. Instead, I stood. I appreciate the offer, but I'm not interested in turning my father's shop into a cash grab. I didn't build it to flip it. I turned to Armand. And yes, I make six figures. Have for years. But you never asked how. Just assumed. I gave Nadia a long look. I don't need anyone's approval. Least of all a table full of people who think class is measured in income. And with that, I pushed in my chair and walked out. No yelling. No theatrics. Just a quiet exit. Again, Nadia followed me out. This time in tears. Jacques, wait. I waited before. You didn't speak then. I'm sorry. Again. I sighed. I believe you're sorry. But the truth is, I don't know if we want the same kind of life anymore. Can we at least talk? Without them. We've been talking. I still love you. And I love me now. That hit her. She didn't argue. Didn't beg. Just nodded. If you ever change your mind, you'll be the first to know. That was the last time I saw that family. Leon emailed me twice about revisiting the offer. I declined. The shop? It's thriving. I hired a third mechanic. We're booked 3 weeks out. A local high school invited me to speak to kids about trade careers. I told them this. Success isn't how loud the room claps when you walk in. It's how well you sleep knowing you didn't change who you were to earn it. As for Nadia, we still text. Maybe we'll have coffee sometime. Maybe we won't. I'm not angry anymore. But I'm no longer apologizing for who I am. And that's the real win.